Her lips which whisper, like reeds on the wind, wet with moisture sprung from a well deep within, whispers, like the petals of an iris, the reedy blossom which weathers and is not trodden down for long. Fell Burgundy Iris or Moses Cleveland's Canterbury Tales, Book 4, line 989. Moon's hiding behind clouds tonight. It's there, just can't see it. Vicinity of flaunt and effluent jaunt, atop opposite face she then scrambled. In crumbling stone that 3 spikes alone would secure the rope, thus she had gambled. Hand over hand they traversed the span, one by one, foot over foot. But could the rope take Armando's great weight, armor and shield of plate to boot? Barely it held, no fall to befell, the paladin, ere short on luck. The chasm now crossed with lives not yet lost, rope taut, no chafe for to pluck. 2 passages be across chasm to sea, one opposite, one off to the right. What passage ignored on hindsight of gorge, in the shadows it shied from the light. Sly on the right, quite narrow and slight, the direct path seemed far more inviting. Straight ahead it had led, beneath the lava bed, to a shaft, damp, cold and biting. A difference in nature of color and texture, in the caverns the magma capped over. An eerie descent, the path led direct to a realm made of stone, far, far older. Near round in place it opened to space, the shaft had no bottom apparent. Dropped from the summit the torchlight did plummet, revealing webs the dark took for transparent. Back now they went, prepared not as of yet, the shaft to traverse by what means. Back up to the chasm in wayward phantasm, across the rope, that which spanned depthless seam. South passage they took, led into a nook, strewn before them be great rubble debris. The south passage lapse, cut short by collapse. A side chamber left remained for to see. A boat rest within, upturned it had been, rotted away the craft crumbled when touched. Under it lay amidst equal decay, coin copper, indeed quite a bunch. For satchel and sack, purse and backpack, brought forth albeit yet brimming a fill. Not completely a waste, he thought with distaste, was the jaunt to this miserable hill. But one last recourse, the whole to the north, perhaps led it to far greater plenty, remitting the cost for life ready lost. More copper grindella halfpennies be. The north cleft meandered off to the left, then protracted it to caverns wide open, affront to the senses of awful immenses, and dung the stench of fresh carrion. He no longer bored, Fred drew forth his sword, as Nigel alighted bright his cudgel. Catania her dagger with sword for to parry, what watchers were affray, hence yet to budge. The beast of the hunt through tusks did it grunt and squeal, as leering its eyes gleamed with fire. What froth flung with glee of quarry to be, simple its thoughts full of beastly desire. There fast on its heels, behind snorts and squeals, came yipping babble and shadowy shades, burning like charcoals, a malefic glow, eyes burning bright with the ire of Hades. With club and with spear and curses endeared, to bludgeon and bash, to batter and best, to put to the test and slaughter the rest, all who for which had invaded the nest. Burst from the gore of a malfeasant boar, Fred vomited blood as forward he heaved. Innards before him, the beast ignored him, his entrails a splay, a fond florid feast. Eviscerated was Saul too agape, in awe at the spectacle before him. Of Fred not quite dead, all over he bled, his fallen head where his heart had once been. In carnage they wallowed, the things that had followed, the watch beasts feral, which did all the work. They yipped and they cheered and chipperly jeered, the dogmen defenders from duty did shirk. What tidings to bide did evil arise, enshrouded as yet by fell minions' horde? What with hooved ones detoothed and detusked, they were moved to disbelief because duty implored. A change in their manner with bore all but splattered, they rallied with resolve relegated. With watch beasts negated, their egos deflated, their recreant manner reinstated. You killed my friends, and your reprobate den I'll renovate in remuneration. In refulgent splendor with refurbished members I'll flagellate with flagrant fixation. In enumerate station, echoing exsanguination, I'll enfranchise your imminent extinction. With obsessive compulsion, I'll expedite expulsion, presuming a presumptuous revulsion. Spat she with fell purpose amongst other curses, as she sated her rage with vengeance. Of blood in their veins not one drop remained, shorn limb from limb was the penchant. 20 more, indeed quite a chore, a handful who spasmed and bled. True to her word, in angst was she spurred, she repainted the dogman's dead in red. With tears trapped in time, she called for the lie, as she gathered her friends' vacant corpses. Cry not she could, her face felt like wood. Ever after they deemed her remorseless. Her party now sundered for what worthless plunder, trivial bling to be sure. Would stint for the bold of electrum and gold, appease not of the loss for to cure. For lacking in Lyle accustomed denial, she called for the wyvern hide tent, with floss and with lie and tears trapped in time. There into the tent was where the dead went. Bound such with curses, the dead left their purses behind, thus for them to carry the way. With lie and with floss and deeply felt loss, to wind and to bind, for such was the way. From Spider Cave then, where Claudia had been, forlorn had wandered she for to mourn. From where she returned her anger to burn, acquitted was she of grief with locks shorn. An ear caught my eye, its source I did try to determine in the depthless spider cave. No torch there had I, but a ledge I did spy, from fire not my vision to save. No ledges to grope, and we've not enough rope. On descent I'd decline at this time. A truth I would greet, we've but wet our feet. Yonder still there be treasure yet to find. What ludicrous theory, thought Catania now weary, the press of the moment now behind her. Fred, though she knew, was Claudia's friend too. With restraint she resolved to be kinder. Not to repent, but what lives have we spent, and our purses still we have yet to fill. With blood as was let, what price awaits yet, for what treasure there be yonder yet still. A maiden of some means was Amber, it would seem, for query's ample pause she'd not ignore. Of matters to tend, he was her cousin, not friend, of business want, and soon for to abhor. A funeral awaits, thus we obeyed, however late for to rest in a state. Should we vacate or tempt further fate, haps a debate left best for some later date. The deciding factor, expeditious detractor, found weary did she in argument stale. Had fate changed its hue or luck grown untrue, for Esmeralda sought but for to bail. What bore which did rend to pieces our friends, in coin this loss does not equivocate. What relics to reap, but ours now to reap, to keep. To remember by, let's go now, it's late. Exhausted and damp, they made for the camp, where festooned they the dead to the donkeys. Let's leave these hill now, she said with a scowl. Tonight, all night, we will walk, if you please. Sullen in silence, lacrimal twilight, they marched somber past the phantasmal wood, marching a morose Aphelian course, round a wood where but emptiness stood. For light could collapse, she wanted to pass the place where the fellworm had beset them. Again it grew dark, that place in her heart, dark where lodged once the love of her lost friend. The stars in the sky, Sod's moon for to pry, perhaps suggested that midnight drew near. A halt for fatigue, lest feet start to bleed. Weary they paused in the wilderland drear. All but Armando, wherefore did he go? Absent and errant, unseen since the glade. Before she could ask, behind her a rasp, heard she in angst as forth stumbled in jade. From mouth had she bled, still and presumed dead. In tatters her accoutrements were torn. Proffered drink was she, then asked under what be the circumstances for which she was reborn. Said Jade, would you mind if I would first dine, then tell you my story, indeed I would. It's been quite a day, my nerves quite affray, a horse I would eat right now if I could. But where was Armando, Catania wanted to know, as she gave up to Jade her 2 rations. Consumed with such zeal, gone too were her meals. Catania's rivaled her indignation. A litter to drag? lest party should lag, asleep fast fell jade behind the donkeys. It find for a rest a neat little nest, made with furs and with slats from a tall tree. Sun yet to broach, the paladin approached. Absent was he all night, it was to seem. Regardless of ire, she was just too tired to inquire if he or for to demean. What day's length ahead and night newly bled out, and rain on the horizon likely. To cross the Black River the ford need be nearer, for flood waters would wash it outrightly. While past afternoon before the monsoon, with haste they crossed at the Black River ford. Their caravan train then crossed the flood plain, thus under the toll. Thus was the toll of vile Drakmar ignored. Yeah, there goes Fred. That's the satire proxy of Robert Hansen. Boy, does everybody miss that guy. I'll pick it up later, line 1079. Thank you for listening if you are, and hope everybody has a good night.